Well, hello. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to the Real Talk Show with Dr. G.R.I.T. I'm here to serve you guys. We're keeping it real while serving others. And today I have a really special, distinguished guest on the show tonight with us. And it just reminds me of, when I was growing up, I always aspired to do something big. And, my classmates and I would talk about, running for office or running for president and different things like that. But none of us really actually went, that route. So it's really neat to actually have someone on air today that is going to actually be running for Congress. So if you are just joining us, welcome to the Real Talk Show. Join us. We have a phenomenal guest, Ryan Chamberlain, who is running for Congress, and I am going to add him shortly so that he can join us. But I just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys, you supporters, you fans, you friends out there that have always been there and have always supported me, whether it was through a show or through speaking engagements, through, writing books with me or just being in my tribe. Thank you. Enjoy the show today. It's going to be awesome. And so with that said, I'm going to bring up this phenomenal guy, Ryan Chamberlain. He has a lot to say, and we're going to get to know him together. I don't want to spill the goods. So with that said, welcome up, Mr. Ryan Chamberlain. How are you?
Dr. White, thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here. Can you hear me okay? Everything loud and clear?
Yes, I can hear you just fine. Thank you. So there is so much in the news right now. We are all just kind of picking up the newspaper, shaking our head and trying to figure out what direction this is all going to go. So before we even go there, I want you to just, if it's okay, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I appreciate that. I live in South Marion County, Bellevue, Florida. That's the name of the town. I moved here when I was 10 years old, moved to the county I'm in when I was 10 years old. I'm from the Atlanta, Georgia area. So I grew up in Atlanta. My mom, my dad, my brother, we had family down here. My grandparents from Micanopy, Gainesville area.
Okay.
And then my other grandparents from Ocala. So that's what brought us here. And I started attending a church that I still go to today. I was 12 years old when I started attending. I'm 46 years old right now. And, every day we're getting older. But I met my wife in high school. We went to high school together at that church. The church had a school. So we graduated together in 1992, and we were married in 1994. That was 26 years ago. And we have basically been around the same area. We now have 4 children. Three are adults, 23, 19, 18, and 15. And they're all boys. Everybody kept asking us if we were going to try for a girl. We did keep trying for a girl. That's how we ended up with 4 boys, right? And
right.
So that's a little bit of my family life, my business life, and church life. I've been attending the same church for 30 plus years. We've both been heavily involved in music there. I was a piano player, still am a piano player, but a full-time keyboard player there for over 30 years. And on the business side of life, I've been an entrepreneur now for most of my adult life. At 21 years old, I started my first real business and basically have never worked for anyone since. We struggled for a few years in the mortgage and finance industry. I found out that was really, the mortgage business was more about marketing than it was mortgages. So I had to get good at figuring out how to market. And so we built a team of people. This is in my early 20s, and began to expand that team. And within a few years, our business began to take off. I started getting focused more on marketing. Jenny was helping me with that as well. And we built a fairly large organization. And we've really worked in the areas of marketing now for 20 plus years, all kinds of marketing, whether it be affiliate marketing, whether it be team, just direct sales marketing, whether it be one-on-one sales. We have built marketing teams and began to coach others on how to do the same. Started authoring books about 12 years ago, and I've authored several books that within the marketing world have really taken on, and they've opened up doors for me. In the last decade or so, I've spent a lot of time working with corporations, all different aspects, all kinds of teams, mainly in the topics of leadership, productivity, and working with entrepreneurs all over the country. So we built a national business, and that led me to where we're at today. Now that my boys are getting older, and we've seen that, hey, and I know this isn't necessarily a political show, but I think we all can come to an agreement that we need help in our country. We have a great country. We want to make it better, and we need new leadership. And I think no matter on what side of the coin you find yourself on, you probably are scratching your head saying, it's time for some new leadership in this country. And I believe that too.
Well, thank you so much for that. Wow, what a wealth of information. I didn't know that you are musically inclined. I love that. I have no talent whatsoever in that. Um, More power to you, and please continue to lead people like myself that are not musically savvy like we should be. I try to play piano and I am not good. I play between me and God, and that's about it. But wow, that's really neat that you've been a part of that church. And the name of that church for our listeners
is Souls Harbor First Pentecostal Church. It's located in Bellevue, Florida. They certainly do. You can find them on Facebook. We live stream a lot, especially now. In the last few months, I think we've stepped that game up a lot. But you can check us out on the web.
Nice. Well, thank you for providing that information. And it sounds like your family, you guys are just rock stars. You're very successful. And so with that said, it makes me think, like, what inspired you to become a consultant and to just start down that road, I guess, for your life?
Well, I appreciate the question. I've always had a desire to help people. For one, we were fortunate enough at a very young age as to be mentored by some really sharp people. One of the projects that I was on, and I always feel a little odd about sharing this, but we had what by most standards would say would be some widely successful years, and we've had quite a few of those. But we were featured in Success Magazine in several different issues, and Success Magazine's located in Dallas, Texas, and I had the opportunity to fly out there and work with some really cool people. And that's what really expanded my mind, because I never thought about writing books. I never thought about, I shouldn't say that. I thought about it. I just didn't think it would ever happen for me. But I was encouraged, became more inspired to do so after working with some great mentors. And I just believe, people, a lot of success really is between our ears. It's how we think about things that come across our path. If you've been around successful people at all, you'll realize they're pretty normal people, but there's a few things about them that they learn to seize opportunity. They learn to know when to take action. They learn what's a good opportunity, what's not a good opportunity, and they learn who to spend time with and who to hang out with. And those are just a few of the elements. And we were fortunate to be mentored in those areas. And we found it to be exciting to be able to help other people. And of course, that's a business in itself. When you learn how to do a few things the right way, I mean, there's people out there that would like you to help them with that. And so writing books is really a way to expand your influence. We've done quite a bit of speaking as well. Of course, we have online courses that we've created, podcast, and now everything, I've kind of shifted everything. I'm all in with my political career, which is fairly new. I have never been a politician. I don't even consider myself a politician. I'm just somebody that wants to go get something done rather than just watch people that aren't getting anything done up there occupying space. So we want to go make a difference, and that's why we're doing this.
Nice. And so thank you for sharing that. Now, you mentioned writing books, and I know I looked at your website. I was excited with the information I saw. You're very successful, and I commend you for that. You have not been lazy whatsoever. And I see that you wrote a book called Now You Know. And so I was really curious about that. What was your purpose when you wrote that book, and what results have stemmed from the authorship of that book?
Well, I appreciate the question. Here's the idea of the book. Let me just start there. During the first several years, I call them my formation years of when I was trying to figure out how to have some success with what I was doing. There were some things I was really bad at, some things that I got better at, some things I learned along the way. I think we all have that story, right? Hopefully we're learning from life. And after we began to have what people were calling success, I began to realize that, okay, you can take a group of 100 people and you can teach them all exactly what to say and do in probably any type of career. It doesn't matter what it is. Each career has its own niche. Certainly sales has its own niche. But you can teach everybody what to say and how to say it. But not all 100 people will get the same results, even though you tell them all the exact same things. So what I tried to uncover in the book is if you give everybody the same exact instructions, what are the things that are causing some people to accelerate faster than others? And there are really some nuances that I didn't hear a lot of people talking about, especially in my industry. Things like your first impression. For example, if you're trying to sell something to someone, if you say the wrong things, the first few sentences come out wrong, even though that person may listen to the rest of what you're trying to sell, they may have already shut you off in the first 30 seconds of what you started to say. So some people are better at saying the right sentences in the first 30 seconds than others, even though they end up giving the same pitch to whatever they're selling. And that 30 seconds oftentimes sets the tone for the entire process. So that's an example. I don't want to do a whole training here tonight, but I began to uncover things, and I'll bet those that are watching or listening tonight, you're thinking to yourself, okay, what are the things that, and this is the purpose I wrote the book, to get you to start asking questions. What are the few little things that I may not be thinking about that I'm doing that could be causing bad chain reaction of things to happen, or a good chain reaction of things. And once you become aware of what you shouldn't be doing and what you should be doing, and a lot of that comes from asking the right questions, then you can have greater success even faster. And that's the purpose of Now You Know.
Well, that's fantastic. I know I could definitely benefit from that. I'm going to have to check that out. I've always been big on first impressions, especially in conversation, like you mentioned, and in image. And I mean, it's big, and it's the little things that we, take for granted, that we just don't think it's a big deal. It really is, so it's great that you're providing these nuggets of wisdom for people, so that they can kind of create more success, and definitely more streams of income, I'm sure. And so you mentioned to me that you're an author and you've done some speaking. And so I found out about you that you have been a TEDx speaker. Now, to me, this is everything, because I'm a motivational speaker myself. I love getting on stages. I don't care how big the stage is. It's like, make it happen. Let's do it. And I've always dreamt of being a TEDx speaker. And I'm just like, I'm not sure. Like, I'm still working it all out. But you've done it. And so congratulations. So tell us, what was that all about? How did you become a TEDx speaker? How was the experience? What would you say to those aspiring to become a TEDx speaker?
Yeah, I mean, TEDx, it really certainly was a highlight, and it's something I am proud of, and something that has caused me to get a little bit of extra recognition in the speakers world than what I otherwise would have. I had paid attention to TEDx talks, and I have attended some TED events. And so when they started popping up in my area and around me, of course, luckily I had an opportunity to get to know someone that was running one of the events. And of course, you have to apply. There's an application process. So if someone is aspiring to be a TEDx speaker, there certainly is opportunities to apply. But, in the application process, you have to really be able to come up with an idea that's worth, in that idea is worth spreading. That's the idea of TED, right? And so you gotta, how do you come up with a good idea? I brainstormed with a few people. I will back up and say this: it wasn't the first time I had spoken, so there's a few things that led my experience up to this point. But it's a different type of speaking, and just because you've spoken before doesn't mean you're ready for a TED Talk. I actually read a book called "Don't Tank Your TED Talk" because I wanted to learn. There's an actual formula that they teach you for how to think about organizing your TED Talk. So I will tell you this: whatever you decide to do in life, period, certain opportunities come your way. And in this case, I took the application process to TED serious, and I prepared. Being prepared is half the battle. It doesn't mean a lot of people apply. They only select a certain amount. So you want to, in this case, they wanted a video, they wanted the idea. And I just so happened at that time in my life, I was working on a project that was a social business project. And I don't know if you've ever heard of companies like Tom's Shoes, where, if you buy a pair of shoes, they'll give a pair to someone in need.
Yes.
Well, there's a lot of businesses out there that are doing that, and they're getting a lot of attention for how they're helping the world. And I was a part of a project where we were helping feed malnutrition children. And because of that success of that project, I got to learn about social business quite a bit. And I helped actually serve millions of needy children meals. And we did that through a business model. So we created a profit center and we fed children. And I decided to do my TED Talk on social business and the power of creating success in life while, in this case, forcing yourself to help other people. And so that was the idea worth spreading. And, so I think coming up with that idea, I think there are several opportunities out there. Don't be afraid to take a shot and fail at it. I know people that have applied for TEDx opportunities several times, and maybe it's the second or third time that the opportunity opens up. But think about it that way. Read about it, and hey, if you ever need any help, certainly you can message me on Facebook. I'll give you whatever advice I can.
Well, thank you so much for that, Ryan. And you talk about successes. So with all the successes in your life, my next question is, why then have you now chosen to run for Congress? How did all this come about?
Well, a couple of things. And I'm going to try to not pick on one party over the other, although I do represent a certain party. I really like to believe that I represent principles that line up with my value system. So that's why I represent the party that I'm running for. But let me just summarize it. Let's talk about principles here. I believe the Constitution of the United States of America is an extremely important document. I believe that the Bible is an extremely important document. And the great country we live in was founded on those two documents. And as a man, as a lady, if we try to mess with those documents, either one of them, the Bible or the Constitution, we're probably going to cause some disruption in the fabric of the country that we live in. And so I choose to want to stay rock solid in the principles that the country is founded in. And I believe currently, if we're not careful, our Constitution will be trampled. Our religious liberties are going to be threatened. And we're dealing in a country where, and I'm not going to list all the problems that we're facing, but in a way, the current leadership model on both sides is really making decisions that are going to affect my children. So you could say that one of the big reasons that I'm running is for my 23-year-old, my 19-year-old, my 18-year-old, and my 15-year-old. My 18-year-old, for example, was born 6 months after 9/11. And here we are 18 years later. He graduated this year in the middle of a government shutdown due to COVID. So my 18-year-old none of my children really will ever have an opportunity to have known the country that I grew up in. But I do know that. They know a different country. Everything changed since 9/11 in the United States. And so we are continuing to make decisions based on that day, even to today. And I believe that our country's best years are ahead of us. I'm very optimistic. I'm very excited about helping our country get back to its roots. But make no bones about it, it's not heading in the right direction. I believe both sides would say this with the current leadership system that's out there. People that have been stuck. Now, I'm a business guy. I'm not a politician. If you go into any company and if they have a boardroom, if a very successful company starts having trouble, oftentimes I've been one of those guys that have gone into those boardrooms. I've sat in boardrooms of successful companies that were having trouble. And oftentimes the board, say there's 10 people on the board of that company, maybe they've been there for 20 years. Maybe they feel entitled. Maybe they don't want to hear anybody's idea. Maybe they, whatever. Maybe they're burnt out. For whatever reason, my experience tells me that if we don't replace that board in that company's doomed. And I think the same way is about some of the politicians we have up in D.C. right now, especially with our current Congress. If we don't replace that Congress, we've got a bad future ahead of us. But because most of them have been there 20, 30, and 40 years, and they're too busy cashing in on both sides, cashing in favors. So you asked me why I was running, and I told you I wasn't going to get too political. That's why I keep talking about both sides. But the reality is, I believe that we need to, as a Christian man, we need to recognize that there's many religious liberties that are being challenged here. This is not a game, folks. This is serious. And I'm tired of decisions being made that are going to cost us 10 and 20 and 30 years down the road. Financial decisions that are being made right now in our country that my kids are going to have to pay for. And I don't think that's acceptable. So when I think about running, I think about my kids. Let me end with this on this. My platform is really running on three big principles that I'll call business principles. I certainly have political principles, faith, freedom, made in the USA. I believe in those things. But as far as success principles, things that I learned in business, as a young man, I had to learn how to become responsible. There was a time in my life where I may not have been as responsible as I am today. But responsibility is real simple, everyone. As long as it's somebody else's fault, it'll never be our fault. And as long as it's not our fault, if nothing's ever our fault, then we'll never fix anything because it's always somebody else's problem. Yeah, I'm tired. We have to get away from that. We have to recognize that the decisions, or here's another way of thinking, not making a decision is actually a decision. When you don't make a decision to do something, you're actually deciding to let whatever is happening to continue to happen. And so we have to take responsibility for our action, for our inaction, and stop blaming it on other people. And we need a government that does the same. The next principle is this. I believe there's the principle of integrity, the principle of character. Many times in life, Dr. India, the right thing is not always the easy thing. What brings the biggest rewards often brings the biggest challenges, meaning sometimes things are supposed to be hard because if you want a big result, there's a price that has to be paid. So we got to stop looking for the shortcut. Another thing I'll tell you is this. Last principle is action. We don't get a whole lot done sitting around. Life rewards action, not intention. Just because we intend to do something doesn't mean it's going to happen. So no matter who you're voting for this year, take it seriously. Because if you were running a company and you hired 10 people, I can promise you, not all 10 of those people, even though they all have 10 good resumes, not all 10 of them are going to perform the same. Some are going to perform better than others. So look at that like you're hiring us as a candidate, because remember, candidates are supposed to work for the people, not the people working for the candidate. And you're hiring us to go to DC. In this case, I'm hoping you hire me by voting for me to go to DC to work on your behalf. So treat me as if you're hiring me, as if I have a resume, as if you want to dig in and find out a little bit about the results that I've had in my life and decide if you think I'm going to be a person that's going to work for you or not be the one that will work for you the most. So action is a big deal. I believe my track record speaks for itself. I'm an action guy. I only know how to do what I say I'm going to do. That's just the way I have been raised. And I want to bring a little bit more transparency back into government than what we've had. Meaning, if I don't know the answer to something, rather than just make up an answer, let me go ahead and do what most CEOs do. They get with, if they don't know the answer to something, they go find really good people that do know the answer, and they begin to develop the right answer out of that. And that's what Ryan Chamberlain, that's what I'm working on doing. That's what I've done in business. That's what I'm going to do in DC.
Well, wow. Thank you so much, Ryan. And, if you guys are just joining the Real Talk Show, welcome. I'm Dr. Andrea White. I'm here with a political candidate, Ryan Chamberlain, who is running for Congress in 2020. So we've had some great discussions so far. And so he just spoke with us about, his passion in his areas. And so I kind of want to say, my next question for you, Ryan, is say you are elected, what would be your main areas of focus as a congressman when you first get in office?
Well, I think there's several areas, and I'm going to go ahead and rephrase that. I'm going to say when I get elected. One of the main, I think we can't, there's 3 or 4 really big issues on the table here. We have to protect our country. And I know people get weird about border control and all the stuff that they're hearing about this, but here's the way I think about it. My wife is a beautiful lady. You'll see her in the back. She's Cuban, 100% Cuban. I have 4 half Cuban boys. And so she is not an aggressive personality at all. But if someone tried to come onto our property and attack our children, she would do anything she had to do to protect them. I'll bet you would do the same thing. You're not a violent person, but when it comes to your children, you're going to protect them. And I feel like we have to make sure our home, our children are protected here in the United States of America. And to whatever that means, that's what we do. Government needs to make sure we're protected. It doesn't mean we got to go be mean to everybody else, but we got to make sure we're protected because there are some bad people out there. I think one of the challenges that we're having as a country is we keep accumulating debt as a country, and it's putting us in a weaker and a weaker position to have to depend on other people outside the United States. That is not a good thing, everyone. And so we need to have business people up there that know how to make financial decisions to help turn that tide around, because it has not been going the right direction. So I think those 2 things. I think healthcare is a big issue over the next several years. The rising cost, what it takes to actually get healthcare in this country. That topic's not going away. I'd like to be a part of those discussions, and I know that I will be once elected. And we could keep going. I know we're not going to go on this too long, but there's a few items that we could talk about easily.
Thank you for sharing that. And I just graduated from University of Florida, so I'm very interested to hear about the debt.
Oh my goodness!
Go Gators! So yes. So, and it's like so many other areas. I mean, we've got COVID. I've got loved ones I know that have COVID, and it's just like, do you wear a mask? Do you not wear a mask? Do you, how do you social distance properly? There are people that are social distancing that are still getting COVID. And so, and then you've got the civil unrest in our society. There's like so many different things. And you open the newspaper, you read, you just flip your phone on and Google is faithful to provide you something that's going on in the news that is going to cause you to just check your blood pressure. So, with COVID and civil unrest, it seems like the pressure has increased tremendously across the nation. And so, how would you, as our congressman, be able to help solidify America as a nation again with these issues?
That is a great question. I'm going to give you a very simple answer, and because and we'll come back to, I'll explain why it's such a simple answer. Here, as a congressman, and I would challenge other congressmen, I would challenge anyone elected. The biggest way that we really can help this country is to know that the people that are talking to us are telling us the truth. And I think most people in this country, if they are scared or nervous about COVID, because I believe it's a real thing. I know people that have had the sickness, okay, no doubt about it. But I believe they're probably a little bit fearful. There's a lot of that fear is just erring on the side of caution, because we really don't, me included. It's like, I don't even know who to believe anymore. So why don't we just err on the side of caution? That seems to be what is happening, in my opinion, because hey, you can have extremely smart people, and one person says, I believe this person, and I believe this person, and those two people don't believe each other. And so we're at a really weird scenario here where I think the trust factor between the American people and what comes from the news, all news, and government has to go through a filter. We have to wonder, who do we trust? Who do we not trust? And we're doing our best as American people to decide who to trust and who not trust. So one thing as a congressman, I think we've got to get back. We've got to build respect back in this country. And we got to build respect back with the people that we're getting our information from, because most of that information, most of all of it, has an agenda behind it. They're trying to accomplish something with the way they're delivering that information. And we just have to be wise to that. Now, with all that being said, I just think there's some smarter approaches. I think we learned a lot from the last 5 months. I think there's some mistakes that we made that we won't ever make again. Until you go through it, you can't learn it, right? Mm-hmm. The idea, I think we now, hindsight is 2020, as they say. So, I don't want to act like I have all the answers either. But I think that much of the decision making that happened from people that we elected that really maybe shouldn't have been elected, or maybe weren't trustworthy enough, or maybe were, pushed in a certain direction by people that they owed favors to. And that's part of what is frustrating. People like myself, we can't sit around and watch that anymore. We got to get in and try to help.
I appreciate your grit. I appreciate your concern and your honesty, because we need that definitely in the times that we're living in, for sure. And so, so you've kind of talked about this, but why do you think you are the best fit candidate for Congress? You've got some competition out there, of course. I'm not really, I just want you to highlight you and what makes you stand out. You've talked about trustworthiness, and I mean, for our listeners, that don't know who Ryan Chamberlain is, why should they feel a comfort in their heart, no matter their background, no matter, what political party they are affiliated with, when they hear the words Ryan Chamberlain and they see the ballot and they're making that decision? Why you?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. Well, let me say a couple things. Well, on my particular, in our race, there's 10 names going to be on the ballot. There's a lot of people running for this seat. There's only one name that I'd like everybody to remember. I hope you don't remember the other 9. Just remember Ryan Chamberlain, okay? So just easy name to remember. And so that's one reason to vote. I got a cool name. But that's not what you were asking. I'm just kind of having fun there. But there is going to be 10 names on there. Ryan Chamberlain's one of them. I hope you do vote. And it's important to vote, ladies and gentlemen. It's important to vote. Now, with that being said, I hope if you got anything out of this interview, you can feel my personality a little bit, to the point where I'd rather tell you something you don't want to hear than not tell you the truth. And so what you're going to get from me is going to be, we're going to know where I stand on things. I don't think there's such thing as a politician that you're going to agree with 100%. And I think we get in trouble when we try to, when we throw up our hands up in the air and say, I'm just not going to vote because I don't agree with them. Well, you don't agree with your mom 100% of the time. So that's not what it's meant there for. It's not, we're human beings. But if you find somebody that you say, okay, where is this person's value system come from? How are they rooted? What is an alignment? Not, this may throw you off guard. I'm going to say not even what party. Okay, the value system. And is that a value system that I can feel good about? Because it's not that this person is not going to make a mistake, but I can feel good about the way they're going to make their decisions. I shared with you the way I'm going to make decisions. The Constitution and the Bible. And the Constitution comes on top of the Bible, not underneath the Bible. Meaning if there's a conversation even about the Constitution, but it contradicts something biblical, we always go on the biblical principle side of things, because that's what this country was founded on. Now, with that being said, we're talking about principles here. I know there's lots of ways to think about those two documents, the Bible and the Constitution, but we're talking about principles, and I think you know what I mean. So I believe that I'm the best candidate because my faith and value system is in alignment with the values that this country was founded on, and not all candidates are. Now, many of the candidates in this race, especially the ones in my party, they are solid people. So I'm not singling out any one of them on the faith side, and it's not my job to judge them. I just want you to know where I stand on that piece. Let's shift to the other qualification. On the business, I've built large businesses. If you're looking for somebody with faith, family, values that has also built large businesses that I can point to a track record, you can Google my name and see some things, and I'm not trying to make myself look good here. That's just what you have me on the show. That's what it's all about. You'll see that I'm a no-nonsense, let's get it done kind of individual, that in the process, I've been able to bring my family with me. I haven't gone out and built big businesses and left my family on the side and never spent time with them. No, we have a great family. We do things together. We always have. My businesses have not ever taken priority over my family or church, but we have balanced that, and we have a track record for getting things done. And that is what we need right now more than anything. I'm not don't view myself as being a career politician ever. I'm for term limits, meaning I don't think someone should get into this office and be there 30, 40 years later in the same spot. I think it was never designed to do that. And so those are a few reasons why I think that I will be the best congressman elected out of the group that's running in this race.
Ryan, thank you so much. If you guys are joining the Real Talk Show, welcome. I'm with political candidate Ryan Chamberlain, who is running for Congress. And he has just been sharing with us so many different nuggets of his life and his principles that he really stands on. And so I've got a couple more questions for you, Ryan. So who do you plan to help first while you're in office?
Well, that's a good question. And honestly, when I think help first, I don't have a single group of people that I really feel like the whole body of America, like I said, when we're a proponent of trust, we're really going in there to help everybody from day one. Now, do I think that there's certain things that are under attack a little bit more than others? Absolutely. I'm concerned with the federal government messing with our school system. I'm concerned with that because I believe if you start messing with young minds, all you're doing is trying to mold up a new generation of thinkers. And I don't want the government teaching my kids how they should be thinking. So in a way, anything that has to do with the government involved in our home life, I want to go help the families, the conservative families that care about, how they're raising those families. That's one of the things that I'm going to get involved in real heavy, because we've homeschooled our children. We're heavily involved we're living what I'm talking about right now. This family is not just someone thinking about this from a distance. We've been heavily involved in helping not isolate our kids from the world, but hey, we want them to understand the principles we believe in. And when you got a government that's willing to get in and mess with that, that's some risky business.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And so, you spoke about your family, and I know you've done you've had some great accomplishments within your family, and I highly commend you on that. I know your son is, a successful little entrepreneur himself. And, I'm sure there are other success stories within your family. I read up on your wife, Miss Jennifer, and what she has done, Jenny, what she has done as a homeschool teacher in her business as well, her little, home business, the things that she's creating. And so I thought that was very exciting. And so the one word that I thought of is mentoring, because I'm really big on mentorship. If it wasn't for my two mentors, I would not be where I am today by the grace of God. My mentors found me when I was a homeless student. I went from a homeless shelter to a college dorm overnight, and my second mentor drove me to college from the shelter. Thank you, Vicki. She drove me there, so my entire life really kind of took a start because of a mentor. And so with that said, with all of your accomplishments, do you currently mentor youth, or do you have any success stories as you've helped to pay it forward through these various projects?
Well, I think we definitely could come up with a list of names we've helped. But yeah, we've been heavily involved. As in the last decade of my life, I've had 4 children go from being, 10, 12 years old to now through all their teens and into their 18, 19 adulthood. And so with that is a bunch of young people. I mean, it's not uncommon with 4 boys at my house for me to come home and there's 10 or 15 cars in my yard, just because all their buddies want to come over. We got a pool, they swim. So you find yourself in conversations that lead to mentoring. And I want to challenge our viewers and listeners to understand that the word mentor sometimes might be an overrated word. I mean, you're a mentor right in your house. You're a mentor right, with your children's friends. They're watching you. They're paying attention to you.
They are.
And so that's where I think, we all have an impact. We take on that mindset. We just got to make sure we're leading the example that we would want them to follow. Certainly being a part of a good church has given me opportunities to work with youth groups, to teach and do things. And I think there's a lot of value. We all want to make it to heaven, right? But there's a lot of other reasons to be a part of a great organization and a great church for your family and for the opportunities to mentor. That's a great word as well. In business, certainly there's been a lot of opportunities for me to do that with the digital world today, between this type of technology as well as live events. We have many stories. The ones I'm most proud of are right here at my home with me. We are raising a fine group of men here. We also foster several hundred days a year a little girl, and we're helping raise her as well. My wife is awesome. She's a business owner in her own right. She's recorded several albums. She's a singer. She's done a number of. She has an Amazon business. That's one of her businesses that she resells products that she's developed. And she does a number of things and she's really, I'm going to say this, she's really helping manage my entire campaign for me, which is going very, very well. So, your family is a big deal. Your church life is a big deal. Business people come and go. And so we have to, we want to just live that life where we invest in other people. So thanks for asking.
You're welcome. Wow, what a wealth of information. And it just goes to show, guys, no matter how great you get and how big you get, or no matter how influential you get, I mean, there's just such a power in being a mentor and paying it forward. I'm all about that, paying it forward, helping others break the cycle, pay it forward. With that said, and I want to ask another question. Through all of your greatness, you've remained anchored as a believer. Give us a little advice as to how others can be faithful to their commitments to God while yet being great.
Well, I appreciate that. For me, it was never a real tough decision. When we started out in business as a younger person, um, I didn't have anything. My wife and I struggled. We were what I know what it's like to be broke for years, actually. And so we decided early on that whatever we succeeded in, it wasn't going to change who we were. And we just never, throughout our entire business career, we just have never, decided. We never got to the point where we thought we were the ones that were great. We know that God has blessed us. We know that we know where it's come from. We know what kind of environment we want to be attached to be a part of. And so we just have never felt that way. I think when people start to think that it's them, that it's their greatness, they enter into a whole different attitude. I mean, their whole life is different at that point. So just keep that at bay, because, hey, we know God wants to take it away tomorrow. He can do that. That doesn't, life's too short. Now, with that being said, we like to stay in the blessing. Okay, we like to be fruitful. We like to have positive things happen, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be highs and lows, ups and downs. And so, yeah, I mean, our faith is in something bigger than ourselves. That's for sure. And I just encourage you to let that be part of your thinking. Last thing I'm going to say on that is a lot of what's helped us is being in a solid church, a solid organization with people that we admire. Because when you're around people that you admire, you tend to not want to let those people down. So if you're not in an environment where you're admiring people, not that you're lifting them up like they're great, but you admire what they've stood for. They've stood the test of time. They're a great example. When you're around those people, you're going to want to be like them. And if you find yourself avoiding those people, you might want to check that attitude at the door and make sure it's the right attitude. So that's some of my basic thoughts.
Wow, thank you. It's rare for me to hear of, people in Congress or just in general in the whole political field being anchored in God. It's to me, it's mind-boggling. I don't, I mean, I've met some people, and I mean, in my little walk, and I've just not met anyone like that. So I commend you for that, and I commend you for being a family man, and for sticking by those values, because I do believe that if you're unshakable in your core, then you can overcome anything and you're unbeatable. So, and with that, I want to talk to you also about. Do you have any upcoming events? I know people, if you're just tuning in here, this is the Real Talk Show with Dr. India White, and I am with our special guest, Ryan Chamberlain, who is running for Congress. And so if you're wanting to know more information about Ryan Chamberlain, or if he has any events, he's going to kind of share that with us now. So Ryan, do you have any upcoming events for people who want to come alongside you and support you during the season? And where can they meet you? How can they support? How can they call? But
I appreciate that. Well, let me say this. Our campaign has about 5.5 weeks left for the primary, which is August 18th is the deadline. We do have a few more events. I'm about to make an announcement. I believe there's going to be one here in 2 weeks from today. But what I would encourage you to do is go to ryanchamberlain.com. Just register your email there so that you'll notify that. But better yet, go to Facebook. Find me on Facebook. We've got quite a big following there. We promote things from there, like the Facebook page. Hey, even if you are not in the district, you're welcome to do that. Even if you are not sure if you're voting for me or not, you can still follow the page and see what's going on. You might want to follow several candidates' pages, but check that out. And if you say, hey, I like this person, I want to support this person. Certainly campaigns don't operate for free. We will not get mad at anybody if they click the donate button. And so you can do that right on the ryanchamberlain.com website. That's the easiest way if you wanted to support that way. But follow us, stay in tune with us. Let me end the support. I generally ask for three things for support. First thing I'm going to ask everybody to do that can is pray for us. Pray for the Chamberlain family. Pray for Ryan Chamberlain. I need all the prayer we can get. There's a lot of different things that come at you when you run, and I have a new respect for candidates because whenever you tell people what you believe, there's always a group out there that doesn't believe it the same way, and they're not afraid to put you on the money. So we need that prayer because it's a constant, battle to get your message out there. Secondly, if you're in District 3, which is basically North Marion County, Ocala, all of Alachua County, all of Clay County, which is over by Jacksonville, Putnam County, Union, and Bradford. So there's basically 5.5 counties. If you're in there, please vote for Ryan Chamberlain August 18th. So I can ask you for your vote. And by August 18th, if you do early voting, do it before then. But don't forget about the primary, August 18th. And lastly, certainly hit the donate button if you can. We'd appreciate it. So back to you.
So August 18th is the primary, and they can go out and vote for you.
Yep.
Okay. So you guys got that information. And so thanks for sharing that, Ryan. And do you have anything going on? I saw you had some a canvassing thing that you had going on. What's that?
We do, yeah. And as soon as you said that, I knew I needed to mention something else. So there's other ways to help out the campaign as well. One is matter of fact, I'm going to grab something real quick. I'll be right back.
Well, guys, this has been a wonderful wealth of information. We've been here on the Real Talk Show with Ryan Chamberlain, who is running for Congress. So if you are just joining us, welcome. We are back with Ryan, and he's going to talk to us. I think about he's got this canvassing thing going on and some other exciting information for you.
There's a lot of houses, obviously. There's in 6 counties. So one of the things that we're doing is canvassing. With the COVID thing, we're not doing a ton of, talking to people with the mask and all that stuff. But we have door hangers and we're visiting homes, and occasionally you end up in a conversation. But for the most part, you're just dropping off material, and we have the list of where we want that material dropped off. That's called canvassing. And I would encourage you, you can go to my Facebook page, sign up. This Saturday, we're launching something new. It's called an all-county canvassing crusade, and it's going to take place in Ocala. There's going to be Alachua. It'll be Saturday afternoon. We're going to do it in Alachua, Gainesville area. And it's just for a few hours, but come out and help. We're giving everybody that comes is getting a free shirt, okay? I know you've wanted one of these your whole life, just like this. So come get it. It's red, white, and blue. And it's a baseball shirt, so it's got some cool length to it. Come on out. We'll give you a shirt. You can canvas, have fun. For example, if you're in the Alachua area, I'll just use that as an example. We got a location we're meeting at 2:30. We're going to start canvassing at 3 o'clock around about. We'll be done by 6. And then anybody that comes out, I'm going to take you to dinner. We're going to have some of those that want to go anyway. So now I'm not going to take you to Ruth Chris. It's not going to be a $100 meal, but we're going to go somewhere and have some fun. But come out. I'd love to meet you. We're going to be in Ocala in the morning, that session. If you want to come out, we've got other counties, Putnam, Clay, there's canvassing groups everywhere. But check us out on Facebook. Sign up for it. It's free to sign up, and you get a free shirt.
Well, thank you for that information. So you guys know that this Saturday, Alachua County areas, he will be canvassing. So if you would like to join him, definitely get on the Facebook page, get on his website, see how you can be a part of that. Again, thank you so much, Ryan, for joining me on the show. And could you share with us before we have you leave out, Do you have any specific contact information for listeners who would like to follow up with you?
Yep. I mean, just go to ryanchamberlain.com. Okay. That's RYANCHAMBERLIN.com, ryanchamberlain.com. There's a contact button right there. You can send me a direct email. You'll be able to get a hold of me by phone. I give out my cell phone. I got no problem with that. But the best way is going to be the website and Facebook. You can certainly message me, and I'm accessible. I'll call you back if you want to ask me a question about something. Let me know how to get a hold of you. I'll call you back. We'll get those questions answered.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much again. And, guys, I appreciate everybody that has tuned in. Um, there are a couple of different things. Please, if you feel led, feel free to support Ryan Chamberlain. He is running for Congress. August 18th is the primaries. He's running for District 3, District 3, District 3. So remember that when you go out to the polls, feel free to check out his website, ryanchamberlain.com, and check out the Meet Ryan tab if you want to know more about what he stands for and his family. In addition, if you would like to support him in some of his entrepreneurial efforts, he did write a book called Now You Know, so make sure you check that out as well. And if you're trying to be, be like him when you grow up, how about that? Then, check out, um, just give him an email at ryanchamberlain.com, and figure out how did he become a successful business person. Because if he can be trusted with monies and he can be trusted to raise a solid family for so long, and he's anchored in a godly assembly like he has been, then that speaks a lot. That's a lot of data for you as a voter to kind of consider when you go out to the polls. So with that said, guys, this has been wonderful. We've got only a couple minutes left. Thank you so much for joining the Real Talk Show. Again, we had our special guest, Ryan Chamberlain, who is running for Congress in 2020. So when you go out to the polls, remember him. If you are in the Alachua County area, again, Alachua County area this Saturday, they are meeting up. Okay, so make sure you get with them. You get a free t-shirt and even dinner on the house. So make sure you come out and support. Okay. Again, Ryan, thank you so much. And thank you guys for checking out the Real Talk Show. And if you would like more information, you can also send me an email. My email is india.white.123@gmail.com. Check out my website, india-white.com. I also have a book, my autobiography, Double for My Trouble. So if you guys would like to check me out as well, if you need a speaker or you just want me to just go to lunch with you or whatnot, I am here. Okay. That is my saying. I am here. So, with that said, guys, I'm going to now wrap this show up. It has been phenomenal. Welcome. Thank you so much again. Thank you for coming on the Real Talk Show. And with that said, I will see you guys next Thursday. Okay. So, thank you, Ryan. You guys have a great night.